Slash UK podcast. I'm Steve Tierney, and here I am again. So, yeah, it's been a while, I know, guys, and you know the reason why. First of all, I want to apologise for this kind of crazy hair. Like everyone else, I can't get my hair cut. Who can? So, I've got sort of options. I can either try and do it myself with with the kind of whatever you call it, buzzers things, or I can get someone else to do it in my family, and none of them are really great hair cutting people, so hairdressers. So I just don't think that's really on the card. So it's just growing and growing. I don't know how much worse it can get, because it really does depend on how long they keep us locked up for, doesn't it? But looking around, I don't know what you guys think, but it seems to me like it's beginning to ease up. And when here in the UK, when our Prime Minister first started to ease it up a couple of weeks ago, there was a lot of moaning and complaining about it from some circles. But he was quite careful in the way that he did it, in that all the measures were pretty minor. It didn't seem like very much had changed, but there was definitely a change in the signalling and the kind of messaging coming out from the government. The words changed from stay inside to stay alert, and the whole mood just kind of shifted. And on the early stages, you got all the problems that you had before, with people putting pictures of beaches up saying, look how crowded these beaches are, these people don't care, and that sort of thing. But the responses to those videos were not as one-sided as they were like a month ago. So instead of everybody saying, you know, you monsters, don't you care, you're all idiots, which is odd given how many people are there, you'd think some of them must be the same people who are talking, but there you go. But this time it was more kind of 50-50. The mood has changed now, I think. So you've got people like myself who think we've got to kind of move forwards and opening up, but we've got to do it cautiously, of course, and we've got to look after vulnerable people, of course. But it's time to start getting life back to normal in a safe and steady way. And then you've got other people who really want to keep us locked up for another 6 months or a year, or until there's a vaccine, which maybe never. And it looks to me like the governments of the world are all in the kind of gradually open up, and they have to be, don't they? Because you can't go on making nothing forever. Food and vital things for life don't come from nowhere, and so if you close up your economy, eventually you can't sort of rely on borrowed money forever. Who's going to lend it to you? So interesting times. In my spare time, still out and about, all the spare days that I have helping vulnerable people and the like. And then in the evenings I kind of get home and sit down, do a bit of social media, and then get on with some Dungeonworld and working on all sorts of new things at the moment. I'm so excited to start revealing them to you soon. You will start to see them appearing. Some of you have already mentioned things you've seen appear and like, oh, what's that? And that's interesting. And yeah, there's a few bugs as well, as there always is when I introduce new stuff, but they all get ironed out, you know, in due course, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So we're to our deadline for this turn now, so people's turns should all be in. What am I going to do this week? Well, they aren't all in. Still have quite a number of the American ones that haven't come back yet. The trouble with the American ones is some of them are incarcerated, and the postal service, due to the whole COVID thing, is really messing them up. And they're a significant part of our player base these days, so don't want to kind of cut them out or anything. So I'm happy to tread a little bit carefully. I've got most of the work done for the turn to be run. But a lot of things always come in sort of after the deadline, people asking me to do things for them that they forgot to mention in the sort of intervening 2 weeks. So I expect there'll be some more work to do. My thought at the moment is, well, I was originally thinking I'd run it tonight. There's no way that's going to be possible because there are returns that aren't in yet. I'm away for a couple of days. So my feeling at the moment is that, So my feeling at the moment is that I'll probably run it Thursday night, or at the very latest Friday night. And I then intend to set the deadline for exactly 2 weeks and move back to a 2-week turnaround. So there'll be no more extensions after that. And I will tell the Americans, get these out fast. I'll make sure I get them to Kerry Harrison in the US on the Friday evening so that he can get them out first thing. Hopefully we're past all the bank holidays and things that are also slowing us down now. And that means that with a bit of luck now, we can shift back to a 2-week deadline. Now, that's subject to adjustment. If it gets to 2 weeks' time, and COVID is still causing them a problem in the States, then maybe we'll do one more term with an extended deadline. Maybe we won't. Certainly we're in the last 1 or 2 turns of getting back to normal. And thank you all for your patience, much appreciated, because I know that some people are just sitting at home with nothing at all to do and hate the wait for turns, and I don't blame you. But, it's important. We only have a limited number of people in the game, and it's a good number. But if you lose a few for this and you lose a few for that, eventually you get to a point where the numbers aren't there to make the game fun anymore. And what makes it fun is that there are so many players feeding into the game. And we've already got steady kind of erosion as people gradually move on and say, well, I played for a long time and I'm not going to do it anymore. And I always say to them, keep one or two free characters in place, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And then you get replacement, you get new players come along, although they aren't that common, I'll admit, because turn-based gaming like we do is quite hard to find a way into, and no one has ever really found a way of getting you into it. So it's challenging, but we do quite often get old players come back who haven't played for a number of years, who quit and just miss the game and miss the camaraderie and the community, and they come back and they start playing again. So we get a bit of that. That's good news. And I love it when people come back. Brilliant to see old faces return to the game. Always welcome, and I'll full of myself. So if you know someone who used to play who might be thinking about coming back, I'll do my best to recreate some of their old characters that they left, because nobody wants to come back into a game where they were, very, very powerful or very experienced with complete novice characters that will take 10 years to get up to where they were. They have to do some of that because there are consequences to it leaving. And that's why I say, rather than leave, drop down to a small or a free position if you ever think about doing that, because if you change your mind, it's difficult. But I will recreate some, as long as you've got the details. We can do some things there to help you. What else I want to talk about today? So I did want to, that at the beginning of all this, I said I wanted to run a game of Lizards, but we just never got 16 players to play it. Now, if I could get four more players, I could kick a game off, and we could still do it. It's still not too late. So if you know anybody who wants to play, if you can find me 4 more players, I'll kick off a game of Lizards. We'll get a game of Lizards running. That'd be quite good fun, wouldn't it? Same goes for Mortis Maximus and Necromancer. I said both of those, if I got enough players, I'd start games of them, quick, fast turnaround, free games. Again, just didn't get enough sign-ups to make it worthwhile. These games are, the reason we stopped running them is because they're hard to sell these days. I don't know why. They're great games. People used to love them. They're just as good as they were then, but people just don't seem to want to play that sort of game now. But, if you're out there, if you can find me 10 players for Necromancer, you find me 20 players for Mortis Maximus, it can take 40, but 20 is the minimum you need to get the game feeling like it's playing. And if you can find me another 4 players for Lizards, all of those could start. We could have games of them running, for the however long this lockdown thing continues. Because let's face it, the world is easing back to normal. But I don't know about you guys in the States or elsewhere, but I would be surprised if we were completely back to normal before September. I mean, I think, June is going to seem easier, July more so, August is going to seem almost normal, but I don't think we'll be fully back to normal until September. I do think we will by then. I could be wrong. Maybe we'll get huge second waves, or the disease will change, or something else will happen. Who knows? But based on what I'm seeing at the minute and hearing, I feel like September will be when we'll be able... I mean, there'll still be a few odd rules in place, but broadly, September will be when most people are back to normal. And then it will just be about whether there's been any real social change because of what's happened. Personally, I don't think there will be. Maybe a little bit for a short time. It'll ease off because things got to the way they were in regards to consumerism and the way we react to one another and all the ways we live our life. Things got that way through the choices of everyone in the world. Nobody forced them to be that way. Nobody forced people to live the way they live or do the things they did. Those are what happened because people all lived their lives independently, and that's how the world became. And nothing has changed. We've had a brief time where there's been a scary virus that we all got to be careful of, and we're tragically taking people from us. But that hasn't changed the underlying people we all are. I don't think. I could be wrong. Some kind of philosophers and the like, and social scientists and these sort of people all seem to think that there's going to be a new normal and everyone's going to be different and the world will be a different place. And then there are kind of political opportunists who are saying things like, let's make the new normal a rebuilding, by which they mean make it more like the politics I favour kind of thing when they're talking. And none of that's going to happen. The world will continue like it always has. We'll go back to the usual left versus right arguments in all the countries, and at the end of the year we'll see whether Trump gets re-elected or not. I am willing to say that I think he will get re-elected. Now, perhaps we'll get to December and everyone will say, Steve, you were completely wrong. Maybe so, but I'm not usually. When I make a prediction, I have won some money. I won some money on Trump being elected the first time. I didn't win very much on Boris winning because it was too obvious. But the previous one, Theresa May, I won some money on, and I won some money on Brexit. So I like to have a little flutter when I'm reasonably confident, and I think Trump will be re-elected in the States, and there'll be another 4 years of him and the media circus that creates. So what else? I want to do a couple of chat rooms for Dungeonworld. I think we'll do this Sunday at 8 o'clock, and then the following Sunday at 8 o'clock. So the next 2 Sundays. So let me just check what those dates are. Excuse me. Okay, so we're looking at Sunday the 31st and Sunday the 7th, 8 o'clock both times. This one coming up will be broadly a chat. Once you've got your turns, we'll have a bit of a chat about some of the new things I've done, and some of the things that we talked about in previous chat rooms that have been implemented, and so on and so forth. And then the Sunday after that, there'll be a more special topic, but I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. So I know what it is, but I'm not going to tell you what it is because there was stuff I don't want to give away. So there's that. What else have we got? Bill Mailing has been in touch to talk to me about. Bill Mailing is the player, the real life player who runs the King Dickon, who's not he's the king in name but has not yet been coronated, and he's been in touch about how we're going to do the coronation. We'll do that soon. Sort of would like to do it at the Madhouse Minicon in the UK. The trouble is I don't know if we can have the Madhouse Minicon yet because we don't know where we're going to be. It sort of feels like we probably can't have it, but I haven't cancelled the booking because if the lockdown keeps easing, it's July, and if the lockdown keeps easing, we've got another 2 or even 3 easements, as it were, until then. So I don't know what's going to happen, and it might be that by then they're saying that no gatherings larger than 20 people or something. Well, that's no problem for us, is it? In gaming, they might say keep social distancing. Well, we can adjust the way the tables are laid out so that we can socially distance for those people who still want to participate. But the trouble is, even if we're allowed to do it, will enough players want to do it to make it worthwhile? Because if people just can't come or don't want to come because they're too frightened or whatever, then it's pointless running it. So I'm sort of going to be guided by you guys, and by what the government says. If the government says it's okay to do it, and if we can think of a way to do it safely and put proper precautions in place, and then if you guys say we're coming, then we'll do it. We'll go ahead. But if not, then maybe we'll have to do something like a virtual minicon. I don't know. Well, perhaps that's doable. I don't know. It'd be interesting to try. So thank you everyone who's still participating in the various discussions that go on the Facebook chat. And please, if you're not a member of Facebook, sign up just to be a part of the Dungeonworld group, and let's get chatting there. Because Yahoo groups don't do much these days. Very few people post to them because you're never really sure if your message is going to get through. I think they still do, but you're never confident that there's much chat going on. Nothing's stored. So not a lot of use really. The Facebook group is much better. And I know some of the IO groups are running. I'm not a member of any of them because there's only so many kind of social media things you can be a part of, I think. And I'm so many you wouldn't believe. But so that's kind of where we are with that. Things are going well. I'm pleased that since as you know, we had a breakdown on our modem last time. It's actually the modem that went, and because that was very specially set up to handle our server, it was quite difficult to get started again. But we persevered, and Duncan came in to help me, and the pair of us plugged away at it, and eventually we got it working, and it's all up and running again now. And in fact, it's faster than ever, so that's good news. Duncan is still working on the MVE. It won't be till the end of the year, but good progress is being made. He's a fireman now as well as being working for me. So he's often doing training and or out saving people's lives, I suppose. But he still does work for me in his spare time, and it's nice when he helps because it's nice to not be the only person working here now, as you know. And I've been working on opening a comic shop, which some of you will know if you followed my other podcast, my Manticore one, which I must do something again too soon because I haven't done it for ages. But I've been working on that as well. I've had some free time and I've managed to get that done. I suspect as soon as the government is ready for normal shops to open again, I'll be able to open that. It's not going to eat a lot of my time because I'm not really opening it to make money. Many of you might remember, the older players will remember, I used to have a comic shop in Hempstead, and I miss it. I miss running a comic shop. It's a cool thing to run when you're kind of a genre freak like I am, and like many of you players are. You like things like this. It's nice I had a game and comic shop. This one is going to be broadly comics but also some games, and I'm not anticipating having a lot of customers because in a town like I live in, there's not millions of gamers. It's not a city. There's not massive footfall. Kind of in the middle of nowhere. Will people travel out to come to the shop? Well, maybe they will from some of the surrounding towns and villages, but how many comics collectors are there? I don't know. I'm not anticipating a huge business. My feeling about it at the moment is I'm going to open a couple of nights a week and Saturday, all of which I would normally be working on Dungeonworld anyway. So I have my computer set up in there. I'll be able to work on Dungeonworld while there are no customers, and if a customer comes in, well, great, I'll deal with that and then go back to working. It's much like I work anyway, because I tend to have like media on in the background, or music on, or a movie on. I like to have lots of things going on when I'm working. I don't work. Sometimes I work in complete silence. If I'm doing something really complicated, I'll sit in silence. Normally, if I'm doing a very complicated bug fix or designing a new map, I'll tend to work in silence. But if I'm just kind of doing the general maintenance of the game, checking the new areas, putting in new characters, that sort of thing, I always have something on. And so I'd be able to perfectly ably do that some of the time with the shop open. And I still have other evenings when I'm working just on the game and the shop isn't open. Excuse me. So that's my kind of thinking, and that might make a lot of money. I don't anticipate making a lot of money. Over time, I will list all my comics online for sale, and that's what I'll be doing out of the shop. So I'll be using the shop like an office, which it's been my office for years anyway. It's not currently because I've been doing some work in there, but it has been my office for a very long part of while I've been running Madhouse since I moved here to Wisbech. So I think it'll work quite well. I hope it will. I mean, you know what I'm like. Guys who've been in the games a long time know I'm always trying to do different things, fun things. I like to keep myself busy. And if it doesn't work, well, it doesn't work. But I think it'll be alright. I'm quite excited about it. And if nothing else, it's going to look really cool for people who like comics. I mean, everyone else will just think it looks nerdy, but it'll look really cool for people who like comics. It already looks cool. It looks great. And I'll get some pictures and video up of it in some future Madhouse podcast. Okay, so where are we with some other things? Midengast, I'm still intending on getting that launched before the end of the lockdown. I'd hoped to get it launched sooner, but that whole business with the breakdown of the server messed me up for a while. And frankly, I'm doing quite a lot of volunteering. As you know, I'm a local councillor, and I spend most of my free daytimes kind of out shopping for elderly people and picking up medication, as I've told you before. And that's time I perhaps could have spent on the game, but I think it's, in a situation like this, you've got to look after your community, particularly if you've got a councillor's role like I have. So I've kind of put that first. Sorry guys, but I think most of you understand why. As it's now starting to get easier, because as people get less frightened and as the lockdown begins to ease, more and more people are shopping for themselves, coming out, poking their heads out the door, a bit less scared than they were. So we're getting fewer calls. And as it eases up, it gives me more time to work, which is great, because I've missed doing some of the things. I've done what I can, but it's fun to be able to focus on it again. So that's where I am at the moment. Just to remind you, so that means, please, if you haven't got your orders in for this turn, do get them in. Need them in as soon as possible. I won't be running till Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at the latest, Friday night. So the latest you will get your turns is very early hours of Saturday morning. Might be a day or two sooner than that if things go smoothly. Let's see how it all kind of rolls. That's pretty much everything, I think. See you all hopefully at the chat room on Sunday, and let me know what you think about the minicon, so I get an idea, whether you think it's a goer, whether you think it's not a goer, whether you'd like to, if it is a goer, whether you will attend. Hoping you're all keeping safe and that your family are well and there's been no kind of sickness or illness in your lives. And if there has, I'm sorry. What can you do? The world is strange at the moment, but best wishes to all of you, I guess, and I will talk to you soon. Cheers.